Welcome back to the Agency Navigators podcast. I'm Ro.
I'm Don.
We are happy to be with all of you. And we have a very, very familiar face with us today, our one and only Cayla Carrillo. Kay, always awesome to have you on the podcast. And now we have another face with us, Shawna Cook. Welcome, Shawna.
Hi.
So Kay and Shawna are CFOs here at Agency CFO. Kay has obviously been with us many years now, and Shawna's into her second year with us. So today we really want to dive in and talk about one of the, would you say for you and for Don and Kay, is it one of the secrets of our success? Is it the magic cadence?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's so simple and yet so profound.
Mm-hmm. So this goes back several years ago. We were at a strategic retreat for Agency CFO, and we're talking about how we serve our clients, how we make them safe, and what our real main mission was. And coming from that, somehow we came up with the 1-2 cadence. Kay, you were there that day. What is your insight on it?
Yeah, I think it's a really cool concept that I don't know if you've never had an agency CFO or a fractional CFO. You often have one person that's really leading the relationship. And if you've worked with us before, you always have someone to go to. And what we realized is you sometimes need two different insights. I always like to joke it's the good cop, bad cop scenario. But sometimes to give you the gentle truth, and you need someone to step in and give you the hard truth. We all fortunately bring different perspectives. We've sat in different seats. So part of the 1-2 is A, having a backup in case anything happens. But 2, it's you're getting two different perspectives as you make decisions. And I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. And what we wanted to do is just be seamless. If you need something super tactical and super technical, and maybe Don's not available because he's our everything, we have Shawna now. And Shawna, with your background, you came from a really fairly sized agency that you were controller of. You were in that role. You were in the seat. And your technical knowledge of accounting, give a quick example. How have you helped a client with something based on your background?
Yeah, the technical expertise is definitely more in my wheelhouse than sometimes, like, I love having Cayla counterpart on my calls because I sometimes am enamored with her way of explaining things to the clients. And so then my default falls more to the technical side. It's definitely going through the nitty-gritty of what we're showing them. If something doesn't make sense, the other day we went through retention. Sometimes clients, they have it in their head that this is how the retention is calculated or this is how a certain formula is because that's what makes sense. But then when we actually break down how it actually is, you can see the relief and the light bulb go off of, oh, now I understand, why that number looked different than it did when I did it, because they're using it in a different way. And so kind of explaining the formulas behind it to help make sure that they're fully understanding the numbers that we're giving to them.
There you go. You heard it from Shawna. Now, Kay, your favorite area of focus will go because we know you can do numbers.
Absolutely.
So you don't like to admit it. We are very good at the numbers, but what is your preferred area of focus?
Of course, I definitely don't get as giddy as Shawna and Don do about the tactical piece. And I always said I'm probably the only CFO that doesn't love numbers in the same way, but I love what numbers can do for us. So really focusing in on the growth side, whether it's organic and starting to be a little bit inorganic. I like the idea of creating a strategy and really being able to see what's the end in mind, how do we get there? And, if you want to be 10 million in 10 years, how are we going to do that? And I'm always speaking in revenue terms because we don't speak in premiums. So if we're going to get to that plan, what are the actions we need to take? And my brain definitely lives there a lot of the times and less in the tactical. So love having someone like Shawna that I can ask, can you back that formula up for me?
Yeah. Funny you should say that. I do have my MBA. I do know finances. I am not a financial person. Everyone who worked with me knows that. When it comes to strategic finances, I love that. I love coming up with strategies and ideas. So Kay and I are closely aligned. And then I jump in on the organizational side. We always said the human person. I'm actually more of now the executive advisor. It's working with the agency owners and the senior leaders one-on-one on some of the really tough calls that come with being a business owner. And that's my passion, is coming at it from the relationship side of business owner to business owner. So Don and I are obviously married, but also business owners. And that really what we have found personally, and I'll speak for myself on this, is so many agency owners actually don't have anyone to talk to. Even though they may be in masterminds and all of that, to have the one-on-one conversation. And along the way, when we came up with the title of executive advisor, it just clicked. It clicked in my head that that's my addition to the cadence of how I help everyone move forward. I'll be on client calls, and I will certainly talk financial strategy, but it is from that advisor mindset. And then now, Don, in your world, you're everything.
So let's flip this. We're going to flip it in a second. So we just talked about different perspectives, the tactical or, the hardcore financials,
Yay, Shawna.
strategic,
Yay, Cayla.
more human.
Me.
Then there's the other flip side of the coin. How often should we talk to our CFO? Or how often should we look at the financials?
And this is how it translates to the agencies. Now I think everyone understands our 1-2 cadence in terms of there's one or two CFOs on a call, though you have access to the whole team at any time. Now, one of the hallmarks early on, and we talked about this a little bit in the OG episode, was the cadence of 2 calls a month.
Absolutely. So the first agency, CFO, partner agency, received 1 call a month. When it was 1 call a month, we spent most of that call time reviewing the previous month's financial results.
And that's just, you're looking at the past.
You're looking at the past. And that didn't leave a lot of time to talk about, well, how do we make the agency better?
Mm-hmm.
But it was really good. It was absolutely valuable. We said, after a year, we said, well, how can this be better? And we said, well, let's do 2 calls a month. Let's have 2 standing calls a month. The first one being we're going to review the previous month's financial results. And the second one will be strategic. And that our focus will be, how do we make the results better? How do we use strategy to improve our performance?
And why this is so important, we're giving you the insight, peeling back the layers of agency CFO to tell you the inside of what we do, because we want to translate that and help you establish this mindset of cadence within your own agencies. So bear with us as we continue on this path. That's where we're heading, is translating what we have learned, what's working for us, into advisement of what to do within the agency. Super important, because that 1-2 cadence, we're unlimited. We want to be available. That's why we're a subscription service. We're proud of that. We never want anyone to say, do I have time for my CFO? What's it going to cost me to call them? Well, I really need to talk to Cayla about a producer plan. Do I have to pay extra for that? Or I've got this real issue that I need Ro to listen to. What's that going to cost me? That's not the case. We come from an unlimited mindset because we run like an insurance agency.
Oh, and the reverse is true. Sometimes we get, let's take the month off. Do we need to cover the financials this month?
Well, if you don't want insurance for the month, go for it.
and what we have found is there is absolutely an essential component to having these 2 calls. One, the earnings, what we call the earnings call, and then the strategic call. it is the best combination. It's a very powerful
It's
combination.
relationship driven.
And it brings a discipline that is lacking at so many agencies. Some of the feedback we get oftentimes from newer once we partner with an agency, I didn't realize that I needed that accountability, or we lacked that discipline. They would sometimes pull their financials, and then sometimes they wouldn't be 3 months later until they looked at them.
Yeah.
Oh, and once you follow that routine, once the routine is established, it becomes they can't wait for their results.
Here's the other side of the coin to that too. I like that you brought up accountability, because obviously no one ever likes the word, but no one wants to institute accountability. And I think accountability doesn't have to be a scary place. And I do think the other side of the coin is the reason that the 1-2 cadence works and 2 calls works is, think about, as an agency owner, if you're on a leadership team, how often do you have to mentally prepare yourself for the conversation? From a numbers standpoint, you want to study those. You want to come with the right questions. We've got a few quick start agencies like Rogue, and jump in and answer, ask any question off the top of your head. But to be honest, a lot of my owners need that separation of thought. They need to come at it from a strategic standpoint. And sometimes they need a break from us to come back and say, okay, give me a week, and then we'll talk about numbers, or vice versa. There are going to always be more priority conversations that are happening. It doesn't mean one always dominates the other, but I think it's, from your perspective, it works for an agency owner, because you get to kind of keep your thoughts within that meeting and not go off on too much of a tangent or squirrel. And then we lose the point of having the cadence in the first place.
Well said. Absolutely. Shawna, now as you've gotten into your role and you're running accounts as the lead, what are your thoughts to the 1-2 cadence and how we interact with the partner agencies?
Yeah, I love the earnings and the strategic setup. I think otherwise what ends up happening is you're just going to focus, like you said, on the earnings, which is always in the past, so you're not really preparing for the future. What I've loved over the last year, as if they listened to the last episode, is integrating in the dashboard, because I think that really shows the future capabilities of the data that we're providing. Is we're helping prepare them for what's coming. We're not just helping prepare them for what happened 30 days ago. And so that 1-2 cadence of the strategic and the earnings is really setting them up to know what's coming, get themselves ahead of it, get their teams ready for it, and best prepare for the future.
Well said. Excellent. Excellent. So now if we take what we've learned, we know that we try to run like an agency. We know that we build client relationships. That's extremely important to us in the cadence of holding them accountable. How do we help our agency owners, our partner agencies, anyone listening to the podcast? Let's all think about the key tips we would offer them for establishing a cadence in their agency. And so, since this is unscripted, I'll go first as the quick start. So I give everyone a break. My key tip would actually be come together as a group like we did years ago to figure out what are the important aspects of the cadence. For us, it was making sure that the calls happen. And believe me, Don will hunt you down if you're not on the call. He never lets anyone skip. But it's understanding. So if they have a renewal coming up, if this is a VIP client or something extremely important, make sure they're scheduled for their review. Don't let them cancel it. That's part of the cadence. It is on us as the providers to hold them accountable, to make sure it happens. So I would get the key team members, leadership first, filter it down so everyone is on the same page, whatever your cadence you develop. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot next.
There's 2 things. And the first one is it's the power of habit.
Mm-hmm.
And I epitomize that. For me, habits are everything. Everybody who knows me knows that I run on a routine. So for me, once a routine is established, it becomes a habit, and I live off of that. It's a big part of who I am and how I live. The second piece of that is once we have established a habit, sometimes habits come and go. And I think that's where agency CFO comes in. We establish great habits, and we're not going to allow you to break those habits. We're going to help maintain those. We're going to be your partner. We're cheering you on, and sometimes
we cry with you.
Sometimes we cry with you, or sometimes we give you a little prodding. But we're helping you maintain those really very valuable habits.
Absolutely.
All right, Kay.
I'm gonna say my best advice is hire someone that can do it better than you. I'm gonna assume that for the majority of agency owners, you probably don't love looking at your statements, trying to break them down. If you did, you'd probably be an accounting function, not selling insurance and building a career off of that. So I definitely think hire people where they get joy out of this. If you can't get a CFO, you're not totally convinced you need one, have those conversations with their CPA or whoever is doing your monthly bookkeeping. Get to know a little bit about what's going on in your individual statements. It's really hard to build a habit if you don't know where to look and you don't know who to ask the right questions to. So I think knowing your team, knowing what you should be looking at, pick top 3 reports if you have to, or 3 different metrics that you can start the habit with. Start small. But I think if you don't understand what's going into your monthly numbers and what your statements look like, it becomes a moot point to build a habit, because what are you truly looking at monthly?
And wouldn't you say the habit, that's really, really great advice. And that's something that should go through every department within the agency. Have those key people in leadership roles that can establish the habits that are needed for each given department. Every department should have some sort of cadence.
And reward yourself for it. That's, I think if they call it the carrot and stick, put the carrot in front of you. If it's going to make you build that habit, do the things you don't like to do, reward yourself for it. Think about how to institute that. Even if it's small habits, it's still better than ignoring those statements and waiting for that ending cash balance to tell you whether or not you hit a good month.
There you go. All right, Shawna, what is your advice for establishing a cadence? Doesn't matter, across the agency or within finances.
I was going to say, I think I'm coming from a different angle. To me, I think what I would find important within the agency to set a cadence would be kind of related to the meeting cadence, keeping it consistent. You don't want to go months without getting together with your team. And so I think, if you're setting annual goals for the company, make those known to all of the employees and set a cadence up, if it's monthly, if it's quarterly, reviewing how you're doing on those goals, good or bad, to keep everybody involved and focused on what the upcoming picture is. I think that it gets everybody to buy in. We were just talking the other day. So we're a small team. We have 6 people. Yep. And a lot of us have commented that, the best part is getting to actually work directly with the owners and getting to hear from the owners. And so I think that's something that can't go missed, is then those monthly, quarterly, however it is, touch bases from hearing right from the owners. How are things going? How's my company doing? We set these goals. Where are they? What are they doing? I think it'll get everybody to buy in and start feeling like they're all part of that team.
There you go. Excellent. So here at Agency CFO, we do have fun with each other. And we are known for picking on each other and calling each other out in really good ways. So at the end of this, now that we're approaching the end, we've given you the message, the cadence. We've given you our tips for establishing a great cadence. I'm going to call out Shawna, who is telling us that she got kicked off of a podcast in college in speech class. And I personally think she's done a fantastic job for her first official Agency CFO, Agency Navigators podcast. Don, Cayla, what do you think? Will we let her on again?
I think so. I think she's got some good tips up there.
Absolutely. So she can go tell her husband that he can stop picking on her about her previous efforts, and that we are thrilled to have her as a part of the agency CFO team and one of the experts we provide to our agency partners. What about you?
Absolutely. And Shawna realizes the value of cadence and epitomizes that. Well done.
So seriously, agency partners, industry people, establish a cadence. Take the tips from us It is our secret sauce. It is what's making us who we are, and how we will continue to execute and refine our cadences in the future. Kay, anything else to add? Shawna, anything to add?
I will say it's probably a redundant point, but small actions lead to
Yeah.
good outcomes. So I think, we can sit here and give you all the great ideas, but think about within your own life. What are those small habits you can change to a bigger outcome for 2025?
Perfect. Thank you, Kay. Anything, Shawna?
Well, for me, just make it a great 2025.
All right. Sounds good.
Simple, where we started, I said simple, but yet so profound. The value proposition of a simple habit is almost immeasurable. It's so valuable.
So let's get those cadences going, and it will get us to a greater future at the end of 2025 and beyond.
Establish a cadence, improve your financial health. Be well.
Be well, everyone. Bye.